I was going to say I feel bad because I cut you off right before the bubble drop.
It's all good. It's all good.
So, but yeah, we are back for the second edition of Wrestling Redefined's Roundtable, but we're going to call this one the Post Mania Roundtable because this is the first time at least a few of us have been able to get together since, well, the events of April 1st and 2nd. And I realize that we're 2 weeks late, but gives us a little time to digest everything. But as you guys can see, I'm Ian, joined once again by Craig, and hopefully we'll have a couple more people joining in here in a little bit. So, Craig, I know obviously we're past WrestleMania weekend. I think a lot of people are finally over the sour taste of night 2 and the elation of night 1. But just to touch on it real quick, because I know we've got a huge panel of questions here. What were your initial thoughts of WrestleMania weekend in Inglewood this year?
I really enjoyed it. I know we did a series of predictions amongst our friend group, and I was one of the to be honest with you, I think you and James, was it you and James, or no, you had the most picks, you and Alex, I think it was.
Yep.
Then James and Dustin were next, I think it was, and I was low. I was quite surprised. I mean, I think the show overall was great. There are a few matches that wasn't a huge fan of, and I think we can touch on that later or now if it's up to you if you want. Personally, I think the IC title triple threat match stole the show, and the women's SmackDown championship title match. I was I don't want to say I'm surprised because both of them are fantastic performers, but Rhea and Charlotte took it to a whole new level, and they worked their asses off, and it was very apparent. It was a great match, very entertaining.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think if I had to grade it night by night, I think definitely night 1 did a little bit better than night 2.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to take away from night 2. I mean, obviously, your IC triple threat, they absolutely stole the show as we expected. And the thing is, I remember sitting here watching that match. I thought it was like a 25, 30-minute banger. It was less than 17 minutes from start to finish. And it's just like, okay, they know how to make the most of their time and how to make it work. I did a whole article about this for class. I really, I'm kind of over just the innuendo pop-up matches. It just would have been really nice to see something of it. I mean, it was great to see McAfee night 1. It was not great to see Colonel McSweaty Bullocks on night 2 pulling a Kevin Nash and tearing his quad less than 2 minutes into the match. But I thought Snoop Dogg filled in admirably, especially given the situation there. But, I mean, overall, I don't think anybody really let us down.
No, I think I'll echo that. When you look at the guys that were not used on Mania, I feel really bad for Ziggler, but he really had no storyline going into it except for that little bit of tension with what's his name? Can't think of his name right now. The comedic guy that he keeps bumping into backstage, Ali.
Ali.
And then poor Lashley. I mean, with whatever happened to Bray Wyatt, Lashley was kind of screwed out of a match, and I think that's why they sort of gave him the Andre Giant Battle Royal. But again, wasn't even on Mania; it was at SmackDown, I think, for the second year in a row. So it was a little unfortunate. But LA Knight, I know there's a lot of guys that don't like him, and I just really wish that he was on the show. When you look at night 1, frankly, I could have done without Pat McAfee. It's nice seeing him come down to the ring and guest ring announcer something, right? But don't take a match away from somebody, even if it's an impromptu. Like somebody come out and LA Knight come out and beating up the Miz would have been more entertaining to me. But the second night, really, really unnecessary. They totally could have used somebody else, or just taken that segment right out. Honestly, I was a little upset. It was probably the lowest point of WrestleMania for me, even though there was a couple matches I didn't like. And Shane tearing his quad. I mean, I think if Snoop Dogg didn't pull an audible and whatever the hell he did to, I don't know if someone was screaming in his ear or if he just did that all on his own. It was fantastic. Still wasn't enough to save the night, in my opinion, but I think he did well. Hey, James, how you doing?
Hey, Greg. What topic are we discussing right now?
Well, I'll let you go ahead take over. We were just giving our original thoughts of Mania since this is the first time we've done this since Mania happened there in California. So just initial thoughts of the two nights and your opinions.
All right, Keel. Yeah, I'll make this quick because I don't have much to say about night one. Night one, the only match that I was really concerned about, night one being bad, was Dominic versus Ray. And Craig, I believe you said this in our group chat. Now, I am not sold on Dominic. By no means am I a Dominic fan, and it could be the fact that Ray was able to carry him, but Dominic performed a lot better at Mania than I expected him to.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, again, it could have been the fact that Ray was just that good at carrying him. That is very possible. We can't rule that out. But Dom did perform. He still looked very stiff in the hips, and it looked kind of sloppy, but he did a lot better than I thought he would. Sure. Other than that, night one of Mania was amazing. The only thing I have an issue with, and I've been thinking about this, watching SmackDown. The only issue I really had with night one was I feel like the reason they gave Sammy and KO the titles is because of the fact that Sammy is so hot right now. But look at every interaction they've had since they've won the title. Like, they've had, one match since they won the titles, and the match was basically Sammy getting dominated the whole match and then KO coming in for the save. I feel like
I think KO had a match as well, so they've lost both, right?
Yeah, because KO lost to Solo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
But I just feel like the only reason they gave them the titles was to capitalize on Sammy's popularity, and like we've discussed in our group chat, I don't look for them to hold the tag titles for very long. I really don't. If they hold them all the way to SummerSlam, I'll be surprised, to be honest with you. Other than that, night one, incredible. Match of the night for night one. Y'all can agree or disagree, but Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley stole the freaking show.
I totally agree.
Like, that match was just, I have no complaints.
And it's not taking anything away from the Usos versus Sammy and Kevin. I think that was a banger of a match as well. I just think Charlotte and Rhea took it to a little bit of a higher level.
Well, and I'm just going to say this honestly, and some people watching may agree, some may disagree, but out of the two women's divisions, Raw and SmackDown has the weaker women's division. Because look at Raw. Look at all the talent Raw has. Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Asuka, freaking
Bailey.
Becky Lynch, Lita, Trish. And you look at SmackDown, all SmackDown really has is Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair.
And Liv and Raquel, yeah.
Yeah, well, Liv is getting better. She's still not just an elite superstar. She's getting better as she goes. I think if they would have given her, I think if they would have waited another year or so to give her that title run, she would have done a lot better than she did. But
I think it would be, actually, I'm going to save this comment for a little later, but go on, keep going.
And as for night two, I was so disappointed in night two. Like, it was still good, but it did not live up to night one at all. Freaking Brock versus Omos, it wasn't a good match.
It was better than I expected, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, it was, but all it was Omos. It was just like every other Lesnar match since he come back. His opponent dominates him for 2 or 3 minutes. He hits him with half a dozen suplexes. F5, match is over.
Yeah,
but we talked about it though in our first episode of doing this. It couldn't have gone more than 5 or 6 minutes. So
no,
it served its purpose. We got the WrestleMania moment.
Yeah,
that's all.
Now the women's match, the women's championship match, it wasn't as good as Charlotte versus Rhea, but it was a really solid match. Me personally, I wasn't happy with the outcome of it because I really, really wanted Asuka to win it. But like Craig said, it's long-term storytelling, and they still have. I mean, right now Bianca Belair is being booked as being this dominant champion, so I can see why they let her win. The women's showcase match. I'm trying to watch my language, but the women's showcase match was a shit show. Like, to be honest, neither one of the showcase matches were really just good, but the women's showcase was really bad.
Yeah, I think the men's was I don't want to say just as bad, but it was pretty damn close. I think they were just. I think it's just a way for, was it 8 guys in there? So 8 guys and 8 women. Good way, yeah. Just a way to get some of the guys on the show.
Well, I mean, everybody who knows anything about wrestling knew who was going to win the women's showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll defend the men's showcase, because none of us saw the winner actually winning.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, yeah, Braun did his weird train thing, but we did get a few solid moments. Gable finally hitting the suplex on Strowman, I thought was a really nice moment.
Yeah.
Dawkins leveling Strowman like he did, I thought that was pretty cool too. I mean, I feel like the men's was definitely a lot better than the women's.
It was.
As far as the showcase matches go, I feel like we got to see a little bit of each of the 8 individuals on the men's side actually do something that fits their character or helps advance it. May not be a lot, but at least a little. Or on the women's side, like you were saying, James, I mean, what did Ronda do? She stepped in, she smiled, armbar, went home.
Yeah.
And I think with the Street Profits winning, I mean, there was heavily rumored that that they were going to be broken up and have Dawkins do it. Sorry, not Dawkins.
Montez Ford
have a singles run, but not breaking them up, just him sort of doing his own thing, kind of like what they did with the New Day. So for them to win it, it was actually shocking for me. I really thought they'd give it to the Viking Raiders. So to me, the fact that all of us got that match wrong was like, all right, they got us on that one, right? So that was good. That was good storytelling, right? Was it a great match? No. The women's one, on the other hand, we all knew who was going to win. It was, it just wasn't a good match. It should never.
Well, to add to what Ian was saying, I mean, the whole match, we didn't even see Shayna Baszler that much. Shayna Baszler was in the match all of about 60 seconds, if that. And like Ian said, she tags in Ronda, who had played literally no part in this match. Ronda was non-existent the entire match. She gets in the ring, arm bar, tap out, bam, Ronda and Baszler win. It was boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ronda Rousey, I mean, she honestly, and I'll explain why, but to me, she is like a women's version of Goldberg when he first started. She can't wrestle her way out of a wet paper bag. She has 1, maybe 2 moves that she uses to get the job done. But with Ronda, when Ronda beat Liv Morgan for the title, that whole match was just Ronda putting Liv in arm bars. Like, there was, Brock Lesnar suplexes his opponents a dozen times. Freaking Ronda Rousey just put Liv in like a dozen arm bars that match, and that's all she did. But to stay on topic of WrestleMania, it like you said, Craig, we all know who was going to win. There was no surprise there at all. Yeah. And the biggest surprise to me, though, and we were all the only person in our group chat, for anybody who's watching, there was only one guy in our group chat that was not surprised by the way that the heavyweight title match ended.
Yeah.
But we all got it wrong, though, right?
No, Dustin got it right.
For him.
Dustin got it right? Okay.
Yeah.
I will comment on your Goldberg comment. When Goldberg first started, I know you guys probably weren't even alive at the time, but when Goldberg first started, was he green? Yes, but he came in, and here's the thing. I will say this till I'm green and blue in the face. WCW used Goldberg properly. WWE has never used Goldberg properly. He would literally, you'd hear his music start, you'd hear a big bang, which is him headbutting the locker. Door would open, he'd walk out, security's flanking him. He'd walk out to the stage. Pyro would go off, he'd walk down, ding, 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 match starts. Kick, 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 blah, blah, huff, 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 spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, match is over within 2 minutes. Raise my hand and I'm out of there. It took him longer to get to the ring and to get back than the match actually lasted. And that's the way you use Goldberg. Putting him in a match for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and having him huff and puff and all this crap that WWE was doing, it doesn't work. And we all saw the match at when he had with Undertaker where they were like passing out at each other. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I think it was in Saudi Arabia, and it was embarrassing to watch. And and some of the other longer matches he's had, it's unfortunate the way he was used. And as he's getting older, you don't put him in longer matches, right? So all I'm going to say about Goldberg, I think when he first started his career, he was leaps and bounds ahead of Ronda Rousey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not taking anything away from Goldberg. I'm just saying, like, if you have to compare her the way she is to any certain superstar, it would be him because yes, WCW booked him properly. Like you said, spear, jackhammer, it's over.
Yeah.
It's just when it come to an actual wrestling match though, he had never had to put on a 5 or 6 minute performance, and he was kind of sloppy at first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, to add to your point, WWE only used Goldberg right one time, and it was, if you recall, when he very first came back to WWE back in, like, I think it was 2016, I want to say. When he came back to face Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Remember that match? He started the match by spearing Brock Lesnar twice, and then jackhammering F5. That was the match.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every other match since then, like you said, Craig, they want him to wrestle these 10 to 15 minute slobber knocker matches, and that's he's not built for those.
Right. I agree.
But yeah, to finish up my Mania review, like you say, Craig, like we've said, Craig, it's long-term storytelling. If the entire bloodline would have lost their gold, it would have ended this storyline, and they don't want to kill that momentum yet. So having Roman retain, as much as we hate it, it made more sense than having Cody win the title. But Cody will get another chance because when WWE signed him, they signed him for like what, $5 or $6 million a year. You're not going to pay somebody that much money to just have them be a mid-carder their whole career. So Cody's going to get his chance to be on top. It's just the bloodline story is not over yet.
Totally agree. We've got a couple comments on the group, and I sort of want to address them. Steven Jackson was saying, speaking of women, should Rhea be the leader of Judgment Day now, leader of a faction in the traditional sense? Agree on night one being so much better. I think I don't think she should be the leader of the group, but it would be nice if they could put some form of title on Priest. He's one of the guys that should have gotten a match at WrestleMania again instead of McAfee and Shane McMahon. That's just my thoughts. I don't see, maybe it's just me being a traditionalist, but having a female lead, a male dominant faction, has it ever happened? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right? She's not necessarily the leader, but she is okay, I'm gonna put this in a way that'll make sense to everybody. She's not the leader, but she is the X factor.
She's China.
Yeah.
China. Yeah.
She is to Judgment Day what China was to DX. The only difference is back then, if China stepped in and tried to hit somebody, they were going to hit her back.
Yes.
Rhea now, if Rhea comes in, like she has stepped in between Ray and Dominic so much. If this was the Attitude Era, Ray wouldn't hesitate. He'd hit Rhea.
Yeah.
But
I think Rhea's trying to break those barriers and what she wants. She said it. I want to go after a male title.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, and if any female is going to do it, I'd say it's going to be Rhea or Bianca, because to be fair, Bianca, I know we may not like the gimmick as much, but nobody's going to deny her streak. Nobody's going to deny her talent.
No, I fully agree. Bianca as a wrestler is fantastic. The twirling the braid, I can't get behind that gimmick.
It's not necessarily her gimmick that's bad, because the EST thing, I get it. It's just like Craig just said. It's the skipping and the twirling the braid. It doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But you can't deny her in-ring ability. Like, she is hands down, arguably one of the best women on the roster, and it's not even close.
Definitely. Yep. We've got another comment from Chad Stewart. Can you pop that up there, Ian?
That one? Or the top one?
The top one. We'll get to that one. All the story was on night one. Nothing was going to outshine Sami KO versus the Usos. I'm going to have to disagree there. But again, this is all about opinion. So we're not saying that you're wrong, Chad. I think that match was a tremendous banger. It was fantastic. It kept me on my edge of my seat because of all the false finishes. But Charlotte and Rhea, in my opinion, stole the night.
Yeah, and mind you, I'm with Chad on this one, because I appreciate what Charlotte and Rhea did, but just the storyline and everything, how everything culminated at the end of night one. That's why I gave the edge to Sami and KO in my ratings as well, as match of the night for night one, just because the storyline building up to it, just the pure emotion of that night as well. And again, that's not taken away from Charlotte and Rhea. I just thought the crowd involvement was a little bit more. I just felt like it was built up to be the true main event.
Oh, yeah. Sami and KO, definitely. They had more of the crowd. I just... I think so. Sami and KO versus the Usos did exactly as I expected. They performed well. They gave us an amazing match. Kudos to them. They deserve the main event. Rhea and Charlotte, to me, surprised the hell out of me, and I was expecting them to.
No.
Well, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but. And I mean, it's not me. This is probably going to sound worse than I'm intending it to, but we don't see many matches from the women division that just steal the show like Charlotte and Rhea did. And it's not their fault. It's just the way they're booked. Like WWE. Because back in the Attitude Era, it didn't matter if a woman was a good wrestler or not. What mattered was she had big boobs and pretty face. Mm-hmm. And then Ruthless Aggression Era was still kind of in there, but nowadays they put emphasis on women being able to perform over how they look. And we're just now getting to the point where we're having really good matchups in the women's division. And it's just, like I said, it's just surprising to see a match come from the women's division that's good, because they're just, up until Triple H took over, women's matches were not booked well at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with that, in that there was a lot of misbookings just across the board, and not just with WWE, but just in wrestling in general. Although it does seem like Japan really got a hold of it first and made it into something bigger. And then obviously we had the quote-unquote Divas Revolution, where it seemed like they were actually treating women's matches a lot better than how they were, say, in like the 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Now, going to the other point here, and I'm pretty sure this is Chad saying this because we were talking about this too. On my end, it just says Facebook user. So, Craig, I appreciate you being able to see names on this.
Yeah, it's Chad Stewart. No, I can't see it on the screen. I've got the our page open up on another window.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, the fact Cody has to struggle. I mean, Chad, you and I, we talked about this. I didn't really necessarily agree with it for about the first 24 hours. But again, it makes sense. And it does, in a way, lead into what we saw the Raw after Mania, with Brock. I was ecstatic because it's like, okay, well, he can't compete for the title. enter Brock. Well, we've already seen that 7 times. Why the hell do we need to see it an 8th time? And then they pulled the traditional swerve. So I do think it's nice that Cody's not going down to the mid card. They're still treating him like a true main event superstar, because you don't just get thrown into random feuds with Brock Lesnar at a B show for no reason.
Yeah, I think we've with this comment, and it's not a bad thing, but we've jumped ahead a couple of topics. So why don't we actually cover this now, with Cody not winning the title at Mania? You know what, I was on the same bandwagon. I wanted Cody to win. I wanted him to end the bloodline story, but we all know that this story is not ending anytime soon. I don't think James, like you said a few times, I don't think the KO Sammy show is going to hold those titles for very long, because we know if the now that the pay-per-view, the PLE in Saudi Arabia has been changed to Night of Champions, Sammy can't go. Kevin's not going to go. I know there's a few other people that don't go to Middle East as well. So they're not going to hold the titles past that pay-per-view, because they have to be Night of Champions is supposed to be all titles defended. So I can see them losing it at some point. But going back to the Cody situation, Cody not winning basically goes right back to what Chad is saying, is Cody has to struggle. So, when you look at the documentary that aired the following week with Dusty literally lived hard times. So Cody is going to struggle for a while. He's going to get his ass kicked by Brock. He may come back and beat him. He's going to get his ass kicked by somebody else. He's going to come back and beat him. There's been a lot of commentary from people. I know Dustin, who I don't think is able to join us tonight. He may hop on. He said it himself. Dusty has done shit since he got back. Cody came back at WrestleMania last year, did really well at WrestleMania, injured his pec, came into Hell in a Cell, put on a killer of a match, but obviously he was done, right? So he takes off 9 months or whatever it was, or 8 months, 7 months, and wins the Rumble. So he had 2 matches and then wins the Rumble. So I see the point where he's done nothing. They need to build him, right? And they weren't able to build him because he got injured as soon as he got back. So he needs to have several, high-profile matches before he gets to that thing. So I firmly believe we're going to see this storyline for the Bloodline go at least another year. I believe Roman will probably lose that title at next year's WrestleMania. And it might not be both titles. It might just be one. I think they're going to keep the world title on him or the universal title on him so that he surpasses Hogan's record. I don't think they're going to have him beat Bruno, but I do think they'll probably have him beat Hogan.
Yeah. And before we get too far into it, I just looked at the numbers and everything. The night of Champions, should Roman retain, that is night number 1,000. Exactly on the dot.
Okay.
So just something to keep in mind.
Now, the thing with Cody struggling, and you said it beautifully, Craig. He came back at WrestleMania last year. He fought Seth Rollins. For the next 6 months, that's the only person he ever had any real contact with. He tore his pec, put on one hell of a show at Hell in a Cell. He comes back, and there's no time to ease him back into the fray. They bring him back and immediately throw him straight to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're doing what they should have done before they gave him the main event. They're pitting him up against Brock Lesnar, and let's be honest, you mentioned he hadn't had a whole lot of high profile opponents since he came back. You don't get more high profile than Brock freaking Lesnar.
No.
Yeah.
No. And let's keep in mind that there have been others that have survived Brock Lesnar, namely John Cena. Brock comes back, gives Cena 16 powerbomb or German suplexes, wins the title on his return match. Cena did well after that too. Like let's not kid ourselves, right? So, this is just going to be another ass kicking for Cody. He's going to come back, and I don't agree with that. He hasn't done shit since he's got back, because he's had some pretty decent matches. He had some matches with Seth. That one he had with Solo, where he overcame the odds and actually pinned him, which was the first person to pin Solo. I think it was a great match. So he's had some decent matches. Just they're all television matches, right? I mean, he's done some house shows as well. So that being said,
Yeah.
I don't think he's winning a title anytime soon, and I don't think he's going to go for a mid card title. I think he's going to hold out for the heavyweight.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Is he going to win it? I think he will.
Yeah, no, there's no way that you're going to have him run for a U.S. title or an IC title at this rate.
No.
However, and again, Chad's already heard this from me, but you guys haven't. This same pedestal that we're holding Cody to, where was this when Roman came back in the middle of 2020? When he came back at Backlash, speared Wyatt, and then there was that triple threat, his match back, and Roman wins. Where was the same outcry for that?
Yeah.
I mean, it does feel a little bit like a double standard in that regard, but that's probably just a personal opinion. Because Roman didn't have anything before that. He just shows up and returns, gets thrown immediately into a title match, wins, and here we are 900 and blah, blah days in. So, but again, I do see the bigger picture, just kind of taking that step back. Unlike one of the other people who's not here, I can at least see the light. I had to get over my 24-hour disdain of Roman just to really sit and digest that. But I think this last comment probably wraps it up really nicely here, saying, and this is literally how I was feeling, being initially pissed about Cody, seeing the bigger picture of him being, or giving Cody that resume. But again, people are tired of seeing Roman win. That's literally exactly where I'm at. We're tired of seeing the same championship. Craig, you're muted, bud.
Sorry, if I can alter that last statement, I really hope Steven Jackson doesn't mind. Whether he agrees with it or not, we'll go from there. Hopefully, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Because this is my statement. Is I was initially pissed about Cody, but I do see the bigger picture of giving Cody a resume to challenge Roman. Most of the irritation is I think our people are overseeing Roman keep the titles. They're not overseeing Roman win. They're overseeing Roman hold both titles. And the problem with holding both titles and being a part-time champion is he's not on Raw and SmackDown every week. He has missed several pay-per-views or PLEs. So the problem there is we're not seeing thanks, Steve. We're not seeing Roman. Let me rephrase that. We're not seeing a champion. Say what you want about Hogan, but the guy was on every week. Say what you want about Cena and his 3 fucking moves, but the guy was on Raw or SmackDown every single week. He elevated the U.S. title to a level where we've never seen it before. So these guys, they would wrestle 360 days a year, right? And when you see a part-time champ, I know there was a lot of uproar when Brock was champion, and he took a lot more time off than Roman is. But, I think people are holding. Maybe it's because Roman had a lot of hatred. It was quintessentially forced down everyone's throat for several years. What was it? Even Cody joked about it. 8 years. I know, Ian. I know, man. And you know what? As much as we love to razz you about it, we all agree. He's been forced down our throats for what I think it's been the last 8 years, and only in the last 3 has been successful. So at the end of the day, I think people are just tired. They're tired of the product. They're tired of turning on TV every week and seeing Roman with the title. And they're tired of turning on the TV every week and seeing SmackDown or Raw without a champion on the show to defend that title.
See, my thing is, I have a few friends outside of our group that I talk to about wrestling, and their point of view is that my best friend Tyler, me and him talk about wrestling a lot ever since me and him both got back into it. It's not that we're tired of seeing Roman win. It's not that we're tired of seeing Roman win with the title. We're tired of every single match ending with Roman getting help from the bloodline. Because ever since the bloodline was formed, ever since Solo came up, he has not won a clean match.
So I will say this: 32 title defenses, only 7 of them have been clean. 25 of them have had some kind of interference. Just to back up your claim there, James.
Yeah, and I if you look at the next comment from Chad, they booked themselves into a corner with the double champ. They need to strip Roman of one belt because he's not losing one of them. That's the issue. It's handcuffs one show. Totally agree, but they can make him lose one title. I think what might end up happening is he puts his title on the line against Cody, let's say, at next year's WrestleMania. Cody doesn't read the contract properly. At the end of the night, they go to give both titles to Cody. Heyman gets on the mic, says, wait, hold on a second. It's a contract that you signed. It was only for the world title or only for the universal title. So there's a way right there. It's a swerve. Pisses everybody off that Roman still has a title, but at least Cody gets his. So there's a way there. I don't know if you want to pop on James's comment there.
Is it that last one?
Sure, either one. James, I think there's a lot of people that share your disdain. James's other comment was tired of Roman. I think it was just a spelling error. Tired of Running Man. Tired of Roman. Agree. It's just it's just one of those things where this is probably one of the best storylines that WWE has had in so long. People are just losing patience with the long-term storytelling. It's been a long time since we've had something like this. And in regards to Roman getting help with matches, Bloodlines Roman equals Triple H reign of terror. And I agree with that 100%.
At least though, with Triple H's reign of terror, there did feel like there were a few breaks in between.
Yeah,
but
yep.
That's kind of a moot point at this point. But what's not a moot point is
Hogan. Like, do you remember Hogan went in from like 80? When did he win the title? He won the title at
83,
beginning of 84. Was it?
I want to say end of 83, early 84. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was January of 84. I think he won the title because Sheik only held it for a month. I think Sheik won it in early December, sometime in December of 83. 84 January is when Hogan won it. I think Sheik was a interim champion. They didn't want to have Hogan beat Backlund because Backlund was the babyface golden boy, and they wanted to make Hogan the babyface golden boy. So they needed somebody in between. So that's why Sheik was a gap fill. And he held that belt right through till just before WrestleMania 4. Like that's a shitload of time, man. That's 3+ years, and that's exactly what we're seeing now.
Yeah. Right? But like you said, though, Hogan was actually on every show.
He was every single show. He was. Vince marketed him well. He built the show. He built WrestleMania. He built everything around Hogan.
You just had to say that name, didn't you? You had to say the one name that WWE fans have been trying to run away from for the last 9 months. And perfect segue, not trying to turn into that, but it's become that because we also found out Sunday night. Well, really, a lot of us found out Monday, but Sunday night, Vince was in the building there in LA. Yes. A lot of people had speculations that Vince was behind the scenes, making a change here and there. Comes out Monday that WWE did sell to Endeavor, who is the partner company of UFC, which personally, we'll get into it, but I'm 100% on board with it being them as compared to some other groups. However, with that sale, it did force Vince McMahon back into power with WWE and officially becoming the final say of creative once again, where Triple H has been really, for lack of a better term, demoted to busy work again as chief content officer of WWE. And I know that Raw after Mania, we always kind of see it as, okay, WrestleMania is Christmas. The Raw after Mania is supposed to be New Year's. Like, it's the party to start the new year. And it's baffling to me how the Raw after Mania only had, it had less than 30 minutes of wrestling on the entire show for the Raw after Mania. But now that we're 2 weeks post, it does feel like the 2 SmackDowns have been good, and this most recent Raw has been decent. But what are your guys' thoughts in that WWE has been bought by UFC's parent company, and how exactly is this going to change the landscape of how WWE does business?
I think I want to go first. Just want to quickly answer James's comment. Well, you're having a good point. Thank you. Appreciate that. The scary part is that the longer Roman stays champ, the more I watch AEW, and there's nothing wrong with that. As much as Tony's a bit of a cokehead, they have some great talent there. They put on some decent matches. I'm not going to say it's excellent content, but we watch it too. I mean, we're talking about a lot of WWE stuff tonight, but we're wrestling fans, man. We enjoy the AEW product as well, and other stuff, ROH and New Japan, MLW. So we're wrestling fans in general. But I think if it's making you watch another product, that's a good thing. At the end of the day, competition is good. I think a low point in WWE's history was when they bought WCW, and they no longer had to compete with anybody until TNA started, and they didn't really consider TNA a competition. So, as a fan watching it live, not looking back on the WWE network, but as a fan watching it live, the product got boring to me. And I remember, I know I've talked to James. I don't even think you were alive during the Monday Night Wars, were you?
Yeah, I was. I was very young, but I was. Yeah. I remember like the back end of it, like 99, 2000. Like I remember those days because I was like 6, 7 years old at that.
Yeah.
But like at the peak of the Attitude Era, like in 97, 98, it's kind of fuzzy to me.
Yeah. So that was the time when I had a. It's funny, in my bedroom at my parents' place, it had it was meant to be a bedroom and a sitting area, but when we had the house built, we combined those two rooms. It was my brother's room. He moved out. I ended up getting the room. So in that L-shaped area, I had a couch and a TV, and I remember sitting there every Monday night, flipping between the channels, sitting on the edge of it, like, oh my god, like holy shit, like this is amazing, like, and it was like you were flipping back and forth because there was so much shit going on, and you were so happy at like everything was happening, and there was dick moves like Tony Schiavone giving away what's happening because Raw was taped, stuff like that happened, and frankly, you kind of laugh at it, right? But stuff is going back and forth, and WWE trying to play the cheesy thing about the billionaire Ted crap and the Macho Man imitation and the huckster, and WWE sort of took a cheesy thing, whereas WCW went a little more edgy. And I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but it was a really exciting time to watch TV, and no one that wasn't alive or didn't really see it live happen can come back and say it wasn't an exciting time for wrestling, because it absolutely was. Watching it now back on the WWE network, it doesn't seem as exciting because I'm not flipping channels, right? Like it literally had me doing what a lot of true wrestling fans are doing right now, is flipping on certain nights between AEW and WWE, which is a good thing.
Well, it also it's like, if you recall back in 2014 when the Yes Movement was really big, Triple H told Daniel Bryan that no one man is bigger than the WWE. The thing with the Monday Night Wars, especially with WWE, is there were two superstars who arguably were bigger than the WWE. And that was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock.
Yep.
Those are two. There have been only a handful of men in history where you can say they were bigger than WWE, and those were two of them. And that's partially why the Monday Night Wars were so popular, or not necessarily popular, but that's why WWE was so successful in the Monday Night Wars, is because they had those two larger than life superstars.
Yeah, and a supporting cast. In my opinion, they had a lot of guys like Undertaker, Kane, Ken Shamrock. Like there's a whole slew of guys that were responsible. Like, I mean, the nation. You guys remember when they had all those stables? Nation of Domination, Los Boricuas, like Disciples of Apocalypse. Like it just kept going. Like there was a bunch of them. Frankly, I'm a huge fan of stables. I would love for Judgment Day and Latin Order, New
LWO.
I would love it if they weren't the only two. Bring a couple more in, right?
Well, there's three factions right now: the LWO, the LWO, Judgment Day, and the Bloodline. So we got three factions.
Sorry, the Bloodline. Yeah. Well, they need a couple more.
I was going to say Bloodline's a little preoccupied with other bigger things in life.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then just kind of getting us back here, we know Vince is back.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We know when it's a Vince run show and when it's not. I mean, 3 changes within a 45-minute span on that Raw after Mania is absurd. Apparently, he only made like 1 change to this, not this most recent SmackDown, but the one before that. Very minimal changes. So, but what are your guys' initial thoughts? Because I'm pretty sure everybody knows mine in that he should have stayed gone. No amount of money is going to make me respect him anymore. I mean, y'all have seen me go off in the group chat, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Talking about Vince coming back into power.
Yeah.
I think it's bad for business. I mean, the product was improving under Triple H. Viewership was at the highest it's been since the Ruthless Aggression era. I mean, people were engaged. People who like my best friend Tyler, for example, people who had given up on wrestling because of how bad the product was getting, started watching again because Triple H was putting on such great shows. And then Vince comes in and bullies his way back. And like you said, Ian, freaking 45 minutes and there's already 3 or 4 audibles called because Vince didn't like the way things were going. Like, Vince coming back was bad for business. Because when Stephanie stepped down, it was reported that superstar morale dropped significantly.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to chime in here, and I'm frankly, I was about to ask you something, Ian, and you actually did it. So you read my mind. You just popped up Chad's comment. People came back when Vince left. Will they leave again? Interesting take. I'm in agreement with. I know Ian really hasn't given his opinion. He's given it to us several times, and not that we're sick of hearing it, because frankly, Ian's pretty eloquent when he explains his shit. Eloquent and shit. But I think a lot of people are tired of Vince, his shenanigans. Vince has a great mind for 80s and 90s wrestling, early 90s, but he lost touch around, I want to say, end of 90s. Ever since then, like when you have minds like Bruce Pritchard and Paul Heyman backstage, and you put them in charge of Raw and SmackDown, and you're still changing the scripts, there's a problem there. That's micromanaging. That's a terrible way of managing stuff. I've been managing people since the early 90s in every position I've held, and it's the worst possible thing you can do. And I've had a lot of respect from those I did manage because of the fact that I'm not a micromanager. Having to tear up a script during the show is asinine. So I think that hey Tony, how you doing? Great to see you on here. I love the Shield as well. But I think I think Vince being back at this point, when I saw that he was coming back and that WWE was for sale, first thought was what a great father. You bought it off your father for pretty steal, hoping you can sell it to your kids, but no, you're gonna sell it to somebody else. That's just a douchebag move. But anyway, came back to make the sale and then call it quits. But no, he actually inserted himself as an employee for a 2-year contract. He no longer has majority voting, so he can be outvoted now. But there's also a clause in his contract that states that if he's, I can't remember exactly what it said, but something along the lines of any inappropriate conduct or stupidity or douchebaggery, he's gone. So I think at the end of the day, he should have just stayed behind the scenes and stayed away from creative. As James mentioned, the show was getting a lot better. People were coming back, as Chad mentioned. People were coming back, and I'm really afraid that with Vince stepping back into the picture, they're going to lose the people that came back to AEW or back to New Japan or back to wherever they came from, right? Like wrestling fans in general who just stopped watching in general because they couldn't get AEW or New Japan. Just basically, oh yeah, I came back to watch wrestling and then now Vince is back. Fuck that, turn it back off, right? It just sucks, right? So thanks for joining, James. I appreciate it. So I think to sum it up, I fully agree with James and Ian. Vince being back is not great for business. He should have stayed behind the scenes. And
Well,
behind the scenes, I mean like away from creative.
Well, I mean, we it's something that I mentioned in the group chat a couple days ago. It's been reported that since Vince came back, morale is at an all-time low.
Yep.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense too, because you notice a lot of stars that did come back when Triple H did return. It almost did, to an extent, feel as though they were brought back as an apology, because a lot of these stars that have been brought back, to be fair, more often than not, they just have not panned out, i.e., Hit Row. It just hasn't worked out, but I can appreciate what he's done. Now, with Chad's comment of will they leave again, there was reports of some of the bigger stars either immediately asking for their release or potentially just waiting out their contract and refusing to renew. And we did find out that the one big superstar who said that he would not renew if Vince was in power is actually Drew McIntyre. So it's and he's no slouch. I mean, he is a very big name.
I didn't read that part about if Vince was back in charge. I just thought that they were far apart in negotiations. I didn't realize that they were.
Because I think it was Alex shared an article that said one of the big name main event stars was talking about leaving, and like Ian said, it was revealed that is Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, actually, Ian, can you pop up Chad's latest comment?
I'm assuming it's that newest one.
Yeah,
got you.
So Chad makes a really good point here. There was a picture leaked out from, I believe it was
Wheeler.
No, it wasn't Wheeler. It was
Harwood.
He was sitting at a desk with a title, I think it was, but then on the desk was a picture of a WWE contract, and it was quickly deleted. And I think it was kind of like a teaser. I'm not sure. But there were rumors that we were going to see FTR come back to WWE. I think Vince coming back to the picture basically convinced them to say, fuck it. We're not only going to sign with AEW, we're going to sign a 4-year contract. And when that 4-year contract's up, we're retiring. We're retiring as AEW performers. We're done with WWE. We realize we'll probably never be in their Hall of Fame. We don't care. We've made the most impact, no pun intended, with AEW.
Yeah, and no, I mean, it brings up the bigger point that I was going to get to, is that now that, we were looking at other superstars. I know he's currently on NXT, but getting Dragon Lee out of AAA, I thought was a massive sign of things to come. But now that Vince is back, I do see that a lot of maybe indie players or some of these bigger names that we see on your AEWs, your ROHs, your Impacts, they're going to start rebuffing these offers from Stamford, Connecticut, simply because of who's now in charge of creative again. And to go back to Craig's point of will they leave again, we've already got the reports of people asking for it on the night of, one of which being Bayley. I know that Bayley hasn't been used great since Triple H has returned or was in power. She was one of those that unfortunately just didn't get used to her 100% potential, but that's still a very big name, at least in women's wrestling, whether we agree with that or not. She's definitely, I would say, one of the top 10 bigger names, at least on the North American side.
Yeah,
I don't know everybody on the Japanese side. I'm not going to attempt to, because I know their stardom is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, shout out to them.
Yeah, I would agree. I've never ever been a huge fan of Bayley. You guys are you're well aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I don't want to say can't stand her, but just she does nothing for me as far as the way she wrestles. She's boring. Not taking away from her wrestling talent, it's just a boring style for me. She can't play a face well. She can't play a heel well. That being said, still a big name, still loved by a lot of fans. The fact that if she's not happy, that's not good.
Yeah, and y'all, as y'all know, I am a huge fan of Bayley. I refer to her as my Bailey more than I probably should, but like y'all both both of you have said, the fact that a star that big is asking for her release. Now, like if Sonya Deville came up and asked for her release, nobody would bat an eye because she's not a big star. Nobody really cares about her. She's not. She's just no. But the fact that somebody like Bailey, who, like you said, Craig, a lot of people still love her. The fact that she wants out is not a good sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are just some things that, bigger picture. Again, we may not stand her, but bigger picture, she has enough sway and enough people paying attention to her that they're going to look and be like, okay, if she's asking for her way out, why should we care to stay?
Yeah.
I think on some level of that, we're going to see that coming. But I mean, it really is interesting because, we've already really talked about the whole bloodline situation and, kind of where we see that kind of going. I mean, we know Roman at this point that it feels like they chose to go the 1,000-day WWE title reign as compared to going for the all-time moment. But I get it now. They want Roman to have that long title just to say he's the modern day GOAT and, whatever WWE wants to say about it, it's fine. But it's going to be interesting to see because we know about Cody and Brock. We know exactly what's going to be going on with that. They have their match at Backlash. But there's still the in-family situation that has to be addressed too. In that Jimmy and Jay, they lost their part in way of the quote-unquote island of relevancy. Because they were there when they won the belts. They held the belts for over 600 days. They lose the belts. How is Roman going to deal with that? And will it lead to a Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Solo kind of a split situation? So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
At the end of the day, I feel like I feel like out of all the remaining bloodline members, I believe that the only one who is not going to step away from Roman is Solo.
Okay.
Like, I feel like, and if I'm not mistaken, they mentioned it on SmackDown tonight. It's weird that Roman hasn't said anything to the twins yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we're almost 3 weeks out from WrestleMania, and Roman has not addressed Jimmy and Jay losing the titles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's odd because he's never shied away. Like when the whole Jay not joining when Jay stepped away from the bloodline after Sammy turned on Roman, like literally the next night, Roman was like, "Hey, where the is your brother at? What's going on? What's going on with Jay?"
Mm-hmm.
Heck, when Solo helped him beat Drew McIntyre, literally the very next night, he didn't wait a month to be like, Solo, where's your loyalty lie? The very next time he saw the bloodline, he's like, hey, Solo, so what's up? So, it's just the fact that he hasn't said anything to the twins yet just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
And if the twins fail to regain the titles, if Roman doesn't say anything to them by then, if the twins fail to regain the titles, I think that's when the bloodline's officially going to start cracking.
Okay, Craig, your thoughts?
Sorry, we're talking about the tag teams, right?
Yeah,
how Roman's feelings with Jimmy and Jay.
So I know I've told you this, guys, a few times, but the bloodline storyline isn't just about Roman. It's about the entire bloodline and all the tributaries. It's like all these rivers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie River Wild.
Yep.
Kevin Bacon and Meryl Streep years ago. Fantastic movie if you've never seen it. I love it. Cheesy as hell, but I love it. Three rivers submerge and hell of a rapids, and they have to survive it. This bloodline storyline is literally that, but instead of three rivers, it's like 20 rivers, and it's the solo bloodline. Sorry, the solo storyline. It's the Sami Zayn storyline, the Kevin storyline. How Kevin couldn't beat him on his own, Sami couldn't beat him on his own. They beat him. There's the tension with Jay and Jimmy, the tension with Jay and Roman, tension with Jimmy and Roman, tension with Paul and the Usos. Like there's it just keeps going, right? The wild cards were the Usos injured Randy Orton and Riddle. Of course, we just saw Riddle return last week. When Orton comes back, if he comes back, the best thing they can do is come back and take out the Usos, right? So, while you guys were talking, I looked up some stats. And WWE is all about breaking records and making sure that current superstars are holding those records. When you go back in history, the fifth longest title reign was the Valiant Brothers. 370 days. They won it May 8th, 1974. So we're talking years ago. Prior to that, the Fabulous Kangaroos held the title for 409 days. They won that October 28th, 1960. The next highest one was Demolition, which frankly was one of my favorite tag teams when the original two guys went up, Axe and Smash. They held it for 478 days. They won that March 27th, 1988. It took 90, 2000, 20, 15, 17 years for that record to be broken. And in that 17 years, at least one of the members of Demolition, I believe I know it was Axe. I'm not sure what Smash, but Axe was in a class action lawsuit against the WWE for injuries or concussions or something like that. So they were hell bent. WWE was hell bent. Sorry, I shouldn't say Vince was hell bent on eliminating that because that's just Vince. He's petty. So the New Day went on to beat that record by 5 days. It was 478 days. The New Day held it for 483 days, and that was won on August 23rd, 2015. 17 years later. So, is that 27 years? 88 and 98, 2008.
28.
Wow, it's 28 years later. So the point I'm trying to make is that, and I think with the Usos passing it helps the Bloodline storyline, but it also bumps the New Day down and Demolition even further down. So they're no longer the second longest tag team. They're now the third. So the Usos, 622 days. So they blew past the the New Day by like 150 days.
Yeah.
So July 18th, 2021. So, we're talking about an impressive record. Whatever your feelings are about the Usos, I mean, they're a super talented team. I know there's people around the world going, oh, but the Young Bucks are so much better, or this team's so much better, or that team's so much better. At the end of the day, think what you want. In my personal opinion, Usos are one of the best tag teams right now. So are they number one? I'm not going to say they're number one. They're fucking amazing though, right? And I've never been a huge fan of these guys. When they first came out and they started doing that tribal dance and the whole thing, couldn't stand them, right? I've always thought that the Samoans, I'll use that as a blanket statement. The Samoans were always best as heels and aggressive heels. So when they come out and they're all like, happy-go-lucky and all that shit, it just doesn't work. No one wants to see that crap. No one wanted to see a face Roman. No one wanted to see a face Usos. They didn't do well. Enter the Uso Penitentiary and day one-ish, fucking awesome storytelling. You go back to even the Samoan SWAT team. That was some amazing storytelling.
3-minute warning.
3-minute warning. What a successful use of those guys. And one of them went on to be Umaga. Umaga was never a face. Like he did an amazing job, right? So yeah, rest in peace. So there's and look at what the other guy from 3-minute warning did. Went on to be the superhero in training. Shit.
What's up, Rosie?
Poor Rosie, rest in peace. But
Yep.
Samoans as faces just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
They're just not. I should say it doesn't work. They're not as good as heel Samoans, right?
I
So
agree.
that being said, and everyone's going to say about The Rock. Rock did an amazing job as a heel, man. Like, come on, he does agree. He's an exception because he's extremely good on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
So he can pull off both well, but he pulled off an amazing heel. But anyway, back to the point. I don't know. I think we haven't seen the end of the Bloodline storyline, but we also haven't seen the end of the tension within the Bloodline. I think we're going to hear from Roman soon, but it might not be. I think it'll be a few weeks of teasing, like, hey, Usos, Roman, their tribal chief wants you to sit in the plane and eat some shrimp. It's gonna be a lot of treating him like shit for a while, where they're probably going to demand, and that's probably how it's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it goes. Obviously, we know that the implosion will end up having to be from within. I do think that it will end up being Jay finally putting it all to rest or something along that nature. When it happens, I don't see it happening on May 6th in Puerto Rico. I do not see it happening May 27th in Saudi Arabia. But I will point a finger at July 1st in London at Money in the Bank. I do see Money in the Bank being the next big step forward in this Bloodline storyline, because I could personally, I doubt it'll happen, but I could eventually see one of the Bloodline members winning Money in the Bank and Roman saying, hey, yeah, you won it, go ahead, cash it in, lay down for me. And that's how it kind of says, nah, we're done. Again, way too early predictions. I haven't gotten to my fantasy booking for that. Not going to lie, I'm mad at myself because I got half my fantasy bookings right. It was just the wrong way and the wrong time. But, it still ended up happening eventually. So I'm going to be okay with that.
That's awesome.
But, kind of rolling this back here, going back to Craig, what you said was match of the night of night one was Charlotte and Rhea. And obviously we saw Charlotte take some massive hits. We saw Rhea in turn take some massive hits. But I think the big thing that I took away from it was seeing Charlotte almost relieved after the match as she was sitting ringside. Post-match, I mean, I would have expected her to be upset, but we got multiple glimpses of her smiling ringside, and there have been rumors going around that she wanted to enter a bodybuilding competition, that she was going to step away, and we all know that is now true, and that's why she's not out there. But could there have been a better way for her to mask the, I guess, relief, if that's what you want to call it? Or what did you guys take from seeing Charlotte post-match? Because I know I couldn't be the only one who saw that.
I saw it. I didn't think the way you were thinking. I was thinking more of, it was a demonic smile. It wasn't a relief smile, it was a demonic smile, because we all know Charlotte plays an amazing heel. And when she came back and was forced to be faced against a heel, which was the flip side of what the last time they met was, the spark wasn't as good. Mm-hmm. So I think Charlotte was probably on the outside going, thank God I no longer have to pander to the fans. I just want to come out here and go, woo, I'm the queen and I'm better than everybody else. So she's probably going to take some time off, come back, and I don't know if she's going to attack somebody or whatever, but she deserves some time off. Like, I mean, all the hate she gets because of her last name, whatever. She's still, in my opinion, the best female wrestler on WWE's roster in the last 10 years.
Okay. James, your thoughts?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Craig on this one. Charlotte, when you think of great female wrestlers through history, you think of Mae Young, you think of Fabulous Moolah, you think of Trish, Lita, you think of the Bella Twins, you think of AJ Lee, Paige. Charlotte Flair is going to go down in history, at least in WWE history, as the most decorated women's champion of all time. I mean, she's a 14-time champion. She's still in the prime of her career. I could legitimately see her not necessarily breaking, but I could see her tying her dad for world title reigns.
100%.
I was
You
going
know?
to say that's exactly how it's going to go.
It's going to go
We
that
all
way.
know it.
Yep.
And
How many ways is she? 3?
well,
She's
she's
2
2
from
away
tying,
from
3 from
tying.
breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
And
but apparently somebody really does agree with you here,
I
Greg.
appreciate that, Tony. But again, I'm only giving my opinion. We're all in here to chat. Tony, if we, we able to put the link in there if anyone wants to join us.
I mean, yeah, I could go ahead put the link in. Give me just a sec.
Guys, we're gonna put the link for this live in the on the page. If anyone feels like hopping in, the software is called StreamYard. You just have to sign up. It's free. So if you want to hop in here and chat with us, just enter your name and please hop in. If you got the time, just even if it's just to say hi and fuck off. We'd love to hear from you because frankly, this is our second time doing this, and we're just overly excited that we've got a community that loves wrestling, and whether it's WWE, AEW, and New Japan, MLW, Impact, TNA, we're just all happy that we're able to do this live. So as far as Charlotte goes and Rhea, I still think it was the match of the night. It was heavily rumored she's going to take some time off. I think that I'm not going to read too. I won't read too much into that smile, those smiles at the end, but I would venture to say it's probably it could have been relief of thank God I no longer have to be a face, but you never know.
Yeah. All right, James, your thoughts one more time, buddy.
well, my thing too is, when they brought Charlotte back, they brought her back as a face, to battle Rhea. And Charlotte is one of the types that, me personally, I don't think she plays a great face. I think she is much better as a heel. So I think it was relief because when they're going to set it up to when by the time she does come back, they're not going to bring her back as a face. They're going to bring her back as a heel, and she's not going to come back against Rhea Ripley. Rhea's not going to be the champion when Charlotte comes back to retake, to retake her throne or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I mean, it could go a whole number of ways, but I'm just going to keep it simple. I agree with Craig. I saw the relief on Charlotte's face, and it's just going to be interesting to see what they do if she comes back. Because, she's not getting any younger. She's already going to go down as the most decorated women's champion of all time. She's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with her going forward.
I hate that I have to agree with you guys on this. I hate it. H-A-T-E, hate it.
Before Ian goes on, everybody watching, generally speaking, Ian will disagree with all of us, and 90% of the time, and I'll say 90, and I'm being generous, he's usually right, and we hate him for it. So when he says that he hates agreeing with us, he really does.
Well, because my thing is, and it sucks to say it because I've always had the same bandwagon thought that I've had with Roman that I have had with Charlotte, and it's still close to the same of why does she always get the automatic title opportunities, and I get it. The talent is there. I'm not going to deny that she's good in the ring, but we have so much more of the roster that we could shine that light upon. At what point would it be too much? And I get it. I knew that they were going to do the whole 16 time with Charlotte because of her dad, but it would have been nice to see them split that up and let her be her own person before they got too far into it, because I didn't really start seeing her as good of a superstar until she got to maybe reign number 12. And in that, because to be fair, a lot of those years it was a lot of hot potato with her and Sasha.
Yeah. Well, and Sasha held the belt for 3 days?
Yeah.
Time?
Or could never defend it at a pay-per-view, but could win it on Raw.
Yeah.
And it'd always be like a 1 week reign. 1 week reign. See, y'all got me tongue-tied. Y'all trying to make me. See, y'all get me flustered because now I have to talk nicely about Charlotte. But, like I said, I'm not going to deny her. For me, it's just a matter of it would be nice to see her, once we get to this point, step away from it all. Get out from under that shadow, because the way I see it, if she gets to 16, that's all people are going to compare her to, is her dad. She's been saying she wants to get out from underneath that shadow. This, I don't feel, is the way to do it. But that's just personally me. So, but it does look like somebody did take us up on the offer of joining us on the show. Hello, Tony.
Tony.
What's up, boys?
How you doing, Tony?
How goes it?
Good.
Good. So I know you guys have been watching, and I know you're a friend of Craig's. We were just giving our inputs on Charlotte and her entire situation. So we were talking about how Charlotte looked a little bit almost too relieved after losing her match to Rhea. What were your initial thoughts with that?
How long has she been rested? She's been going strong for 10 years now?
Something close to it. Yeah, about 10, 11 years.
Yeah, I gotta say she needs some time off, right?
Yeah.
As good as she is and as strong as she is and all that, I think takes a toll on the body, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she does need some time off, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what she's doing. I haven't read too much into it, but you guys might know more.
And she's a high impact wrestler too. For a girl her size, doing moonsaults off the top rope onto the ground, not the ring. Those aren't exactly easy things to do. So, it's not like she's going out there and putting on Bella style matches. Like, we're talking, she's hard hitting, and she really does push things to the limit with everyone she's in the ring with. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a bad Charlotte match that I can think of right now. She's earned her stripes.
100%.
Yeah. Like I said, I hate agreeing with you guys when it comes to this, but you're right. But something else I want to get to, just to kind of wrap up the WrestleMania weekend thought process here that we had written out here, is the fact of the rumors of, well, actually, no, I'm going to save that one. Obviously, Roman wins. So we still have the 2 belts, but there have been multiple leaks of potential new title designs coming eventually. And to be fair, I'm not against it, but if there are going to be new title designs, or let alone even new titles, what titles would we want to see changed? How would we change them? And if they're going to bring back old titles, which ones are we bringing back from the dead?
I'm just going to be honest with you on this one. They need to change the WWE, the Universal, and both women's titles, because it's literally just the same title but a different color.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're gonna leave the WWE title the way it is, but introduce a new Universal Championship design, introduce new women's title design. Hell, get rid of the Universal Championship altogether and bring back Big Gold. Bring back the Winged Eagle Championship. And honestly, I'm a big fan of the idea of bringing back the Cruiserweight, because you have guys like Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, and Rey Mysterio who are really good, but as long as Vince is back in power, guys like that are not going to get a big, push in the spotlight, because it's, Vince is notorious for not liking small guys.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can see titles I'd like to see come back. A cruiserweight title. I know in WCW in earlier years they had a U.S. tag team title. I'm on the fence whether I want that to come back because, frankly, they've already got two tag titles. But a TV title would go over well. AEW picked it up. WCW had one. TV title would be something that was defended on the TV every single week, whether it be on Raw, just on SmackDown, or float between the two. It's something that's defended on TV solely. I think that would be a great championship. As far as new title designs, I haven't liked the new title design since they came out, even when it was not the rigid W. It was the old diamond one with the scratch. It wasn't the scratch logo, but it was just a little bit more rigid. I think the difference, it actually said champion on the bottom or something. I can't remember now, but it wasn't an existing one. So the last two reiterations of the world title I haven't liked. I don't think they're going to bring back Big Gold as much as you guys are hoping for it. It's just too much of a throwback to the NWA and WCW. If anything, if Cody does win, he may bring back a modified Winged Eagle title. And I could see Vince being okay with that because it was a WWE title or a WWF title. So I could see that happening. I know the one floating around, people are putting it beside Cody because Cody was at a convention and a fan had a belt made and presented it to Cody, took a picture of it, and the photo's gone viral, and everyone thinks that's what Cody's going to do for his title. It's a fan-made belt, just to make that clear. So it's not written in stone. Will he bring back the Winged Eagle? Well, he wants to. He was the one responsible for bringing back the old IC title design, so it's it is possible. But yeah, I would definitely love to see two new titles. The existing title ones. I can't say they're my favorite title designs. I think New Japan's always had the best looking titles, in my opinion. They just look prestigious, whereas ours now looks like, I don't know,
corporate shilling.
Corporate, yeah. Here's a big logo. It's like, great, it's a logo. Where does it say world champion on it? Like, it just doesn't do anything for me. The IC title is the current one is better than the one, but I'm just not a fan of it as well. US title is probably my favorite out of all of them, and the tag titles are beyond ready for a rehash as well.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
I'm not cutting you off, Craig. I'm just agreeing with you that the tag titles desperately need a new design.
You guys remember the belts that the Bulldogs had at WrestleMania 2?
Who were they?
Those were freaking gorgeous titles. Old school, big metal, like silver titles. It was fantastic.
I was going to say, Tony, you can tell whoever you're talking to, we say hi.
It's my daughter.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Tony's daughter.
Hello.
We're talking wrestling, which she has no interest at all in.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
You had to go hide out in the car?
Actually, yeah.
Nice.
I was going to say the seatbelt gave that one away from
Yeah.
me. Came on.
I'm a smoker, so we don't smoke in the house.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
And it's a beautiful night out.
Nice. It is. I was just out there earlier tonight with my youth group, and we were playing soccer in the field. It was freakishly hot, and then sun went down and got cold real quick.
Yeah, it's dropped down.
Yeah.
See, that's nice for you guys because yesterday here it was 85. Today it was snowing sideways and only 28.
Yeah,
So where are you guys located?
I'm in Colorado.
Right?
I'm in Mississippi.
Right?
So, yeah, we cover a little bit of the entire U.S. population. I think I'm still the furthest west out of everybody.
And of our group, I'm Tony. I'm just one city over from you.
Well, I'm in Burlington. Aren't you still in Burlington?
No, I've never been in Burlington. My parents are in Burlington. I'm in Oakville.
Oh, you're in Oakville.
Yeah.
Oakville, Burlington, same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Halton Hills. Yeah, so we're I'm the only of the original Wrestling Redefined crew. I'm the only Canadian, but we've been together as a group for over a decade now.
Yeah, I've been following for a while, I guess. There,
Yeah, we had a
couple of months, anyways.
we had a
Months.
Facebook page that had over 38,000 followers, and we woke up one morning to in our chat to one of the guys saying what happened to our page, and Facebook decided to take us down. They said we violated some community standards, which when we went back and looked, it said that we didn't provide any. I think it was just a glitch. but we tried to fight it and we never got it back. So we decided, you know what, let's start from scratch, just do a group, and it'll be a lot smaller, a lot more intimate. But we've been having some great conversations. Sometimes the page does go a bit, the group does go a bit quiet, but it's because we're having a lot of those conversations quietly in a chat. So that's why we decided to do these live chats every whenever we can, whenever we get a couple of guys together. And you're the first non-admin to hop in and grace with your presence and your opinions and your views on wrestling. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like everybody else is giving their piece. How are you feeling with these belt designs, and would you bring any of the old titles back?
I like the old titles. I like the big gold old titles, from like the 90s, I guess it would be.
Yep.
I don't know, the new design titles. I don't really care for them too much, right? Like, they look nice and all, but I'm old school that way, I like the old titles. Like, I even like the old titles from back when, like, say, back in the Ric Flair days, the smaller titles, and some from the early 80s and stuff. I love those titles. But that's just nostalgia to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind the new titles. But I'm all about old school that way, right? I love those old titles.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I know they'll never bring something like that back again.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, they're all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're okay for sure, but I think Craig brought it up. When you just see a huge WWE logo, it doesn't really scream world champion as compared to like your IWGPs over in
Yeah.
Japan. Heck, even AEW's original World Heavyweight Championship belt, it looked good. It looked clean. It looked prestigious. AEW was just barely cemented in to it, where WWE, you can't even look at the belt normally and not see a part of a huge straight out WWE logo. And if Craig moves his head, I think that's the original belt there.
This is the belt that Hogan won from the Sheik. Probably one of my favorite belts.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about right there.
So that was one of my favorite. I mean, I know
old
the
classic belts,
Yeah, the plates aren't exactly aligned, but that was the one right before they changed it to the classic Hogan belt, like the one where it was like. Let's see if I can find a picture of the next iteration.
I was going to say, because I know there was one iteration where it was like the United States or the lower 48 map, and it always felt like you were going to get stabbed in the kidney by the state of Maine because it was just sticking up so far.
Yeah.
But not going to lie, like that older belt, it looks nice, but to me, it looks too much like a penny.
Yeah.
I don't see world champion with that, but that's just personal choice there. So,
maybe that belt with a little bit of color in it.
Yeah. Right? I also think green is a little bit out of date. Make it black, and I think that you'd be just fine.
Yeah.
With something like that. So I think Craig's hard at work, so while he's looking that up, I'll touch on the next subject that we have lined up, and the rumor of doing away with the gimmick pay-per-views. So Hell in a Cell no longer having its own pay-per-view, it becoming just a match stipulation again. Same with like your TLC, your Extreme Rules. But not only that, the big rumor, which kind of blew me away, was that Money in the Bank would be losing its entire pay-per-view and it'd be moving back to open WrestleMania. So there'd be the men's one on night 1 and the women's on night 2, or vice versa, to open the shows again. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I think Triple H said it in an interview a while back. Hell in the Cell never should have been the way it is now.
That's the next iteration.
Yeah, yes, something like that would be nice.
Yeah,
like
yeah. See, I like that belt.
Yeah. When Hell in the Cell was first designed, the first Hell in the Cell match was Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. That match was designed for the most heated rivalries to be brought to a conclusion. And now that match is, I mean, we have seen Hell in a Cell matches that never should have happened, but they happen solely because of a gimmick pay-per-view.
Yep, I agree.
The best Hell in a Cell match, in my opinion, not taking anything away from Cody and Seth, but to me, the best Hell in a Cell match that we have seen in recent memory was WrestleMania Edge versus Finn Balor, because there was a lot of bad blood there. There was a lot of tension there. And it was one of the biggest rivalries in wrestling coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, I agree. It should be used for that particular purpose and not solely at WrestleMania. It should be used whenever the need be. And I think that's the way it was used until they created the pay-per-view, which wasn't a huge fan of. Because, I mean, if you have a pay-per-view with 8 matches and 2 of them are Hell in a Cell, the other 6 shouldn't be on there. Like, it's just, if they're filler, right? I mean, I'm going back to like the original Survivor Series. There was no IC title defended. There was no tag team titles defended. There was no heavyweight title defended. It was all teams of 5 strive to survive, and that was what it was meant to be, right? It was just that's just it. So as far as Hell in a Cell, should be used as a feud ender, or you get to a point and then maybe a couple more matches after, whatever, but it should be used as a heated feud and pulled out when needed. Money in the Bank, yeah, one night do the guys on night 1, girls on night 2, or vice versa. I don't care, but Money in the Bank at WrestleMania would be huge. Good way to get instead get 8 people in a ladder match instead of 8 guys in a tag team match and 8 girls in a tag team match. Would have been a lot more fun.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And before we get too far into this, sorry, Tony, I got to cut you off here. One, Craig, you are completely frozen on our screen. I think it's because you have the blurred background. So you might want to take that off, and I think that you'll come back to being live. Number 2, I don't know if you guys follow much on Twitter, but Drew McIntyre has officially blacked out his entire profile.
Oh, really? Am I okay now?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right.
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably not. It's probably
No.
On Twitter?
Yeah, but his background screen is black. His profile picture is black. So, just like I'd mentioned earlier, Drew did say something about not being happy. So, I don't know how much you guys want to buy into it, but could very well lead to something. But again, I just wanted to bring that across because I literally just saw that come across my timeline. I'm sorry.
Interesting.
I'll give you the floor back.
Huh. Crazy.
All right, Tony, back to you, buddy.
Oh, no, go ahead. No. I forgot what I was going to say anyway.
No, it's about the Money in the Bank. Hell in a Cell.
We were talking about Money in the Bank losing its pay-per-view and all the gimmick matches, pay-per-views going away.
Yeah. Forever changing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love those Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah, I think the actual matches aren't going away. I think the pay-per-views are, or where they call them PLEs, premium live events, as a whole are going away. So they're going to use the matches aren't going to go away. So the Hell in a Cell will be used as a feud ender at whatever pay-per-view it falls on, which will give it, I think, more oomph the way they originally had them. And again, Money in the Bank will probably be put back onto WrestleMania like it was.
I'm just trying to think, how many pay-per-views are there actually?
1 a month.
One every month, eh?
Or right about 1 a month. Sometimes there's 2, and then that next month there won't be another.
Yeah, so it's usually 12 a year or 11 a year.
Well, I'm gonna say, even though there's technically only 12, I'm gonna say 13, because since there's 2 nights of WrestleMania, I do count that as 2 separate events.
Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I've really gone to bat thinking that Money in the Bank should stay its own pay-per-view, even though I do understand it's really only built around 2 matches. But the fact that we've seen 50,000 seat stadiums be sold out for what's considered to still be a B show, I think means that it could stay around, where we're still having trouble trying to, fill out your Hell in a Cells, your Extreme Rules, your TLCs,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Shoot TLC with stairs or whatever that one random year there was. the
Yeah, like
stairs
I mean,
match.
again, unless every single match is like Extreme Rules, are they all extreme?
No,
No, they
but
weren't.
they should be.
It should be Extreme Rules. Every single match should be Extreme Rules or some sort of stipulation.
Well,
they can't have every single match TLC.
and that goes back to our original point that we were talking about an hour ago. When Triple H took over, last year's Extreme Rules pay-per-view was the first pay-per-view in history where every single match was a gimmick match of some sort. Like, we saw an Extreme Rules match. I believe there was a cage match. If I'm not mistaken, there was a tables match. Like I think there was a false count anywhere match. Like every single match had a stipulation.
Yeah, no, that does sound right. So, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what exactly does come of this. But a couple other things here, because we have been going at this for a while, so I do want to slowly kind of start ramping this down here, because I do also understand that it is also 11:20 for your East Coast folk over there, and I don't want to keep y'all up on a Friday night.
All good.
But a couple other things that I wanted to touch on, since we're talking about these pay-per-views, which ones would you want to see be brought back, and which ones would you want to see just kind of done away with?
I'd like to see the Great American Bash brought back. Halloween Havoc. I know Halloween Havoc is being used in NXT.
They're both being used by NXT right now.
Yeah, I would love for them to be used on the main roster because they were using NXT. What's the name of the one they were doing?
In Your House, Stand and Deliver, Takeover.
Takeover. It was Takeover and then a number, right?
Mm-hmm.
I liked when they were doing that because you were looking forward to the next Takeover, right? And it was good. I mean, maybe it was getting old. I don't know. They related it too much to the black and gold, and now that I don't know, black, white, and gold is back. Kind of like a hybrid between Vince's, fucking prom NXT and the black and gold, like a bastard marriage. I just like to see some of maybe the B ideas used on the developmental, and some of the certain things brought back. Great American Bash and Halloween Havoc for sure should be used on the main one. I like when they brought War Games from NXT and merged it with Survivor Series. I think they had gotten so far away from the traditional Survivor Series, they needed something to do something for me as an old school fan to attract me back to that pay-per-view, because it went from being my favorite to my second least favorite. Royal Rumble quickly took over when they got rid of the 5 versus 5. So those two, I was never a fan of In Your House. Bash the Beach, again, it was just another, like Hog Wild. Remember that one? It was just terrible, like a bunch of motorcycles. What was the one that was Sturgis? The one was in Sturgis.
Yeah, that was Hog Wild.
Hog Wild, where they had a bunch of bikes around. It was kind of like, we have a thing up here where every Friday the 13th, all the bikers go into a place called Port Dover, and the town gets taken over by all these Harleys and stuff. That's literally what happens in Sturgis, right? So they did this thing in on a beach surrounded by a bunch of bikes. It was terrible. Like, they've had some bad pay-per-views, but those will be a couple good ones. Ones I hope they never bring back. Great Balls of Fire. I think we already talked about that. What a stupid name. I think it was a one and done. In Your House, I don't want to see back. Can't think of any more right now, but it would be nice if they brought, like, Starrcade would be nice to come back. I don't know. Maybe I think Vince being Vince and not wanting to rehash WCW, he probably won't do it, or NWA, even though he owns the tapes. But he's I mean, I think, didn't AEW used to use Starrcade? Because it's Dusty's baby, and Cody may have used it in AEW.
You might want to check that one. I'm not 100% sure on that. So if somebody could check up on that, that'd be cool.
I personally, I know it's not going to happen because, like you said, Craig, it's a WCW thing. But I would really like to see a return of Halloween Havoc.
Yep. It's being used in WCW. NXT right now.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
I got you.
Yeah. So that's one of the ones I wish they would move from NXT to WWE. Use it in October, and then like even ECW, they own the ECW library. They could use some of them as well. Like they had, was it December to Dismember or something like that? They had was
Yeah.
like this sort of. I think they've sort of summed up ECW with Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Tony, what about you?
No opinion.
No opinion. I love
None.
it. None whatsoever.
I don't have any opinion on any of them really. I just I agree with Craig on a couple of those. Like a lot of them were crap. I didn't care for them. But for me, I go with the flow with the wrestling, right? I enjoy watching it. I enjoy all the pay-per-views and all that stuff. Some of them are crap. Some of the matches are great. Some of them are whatever. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching way too long, man. I've been watching for years and years, so I've seen a lot of things come and go.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Right?
I didn't touch on the one that's popped up on the screen right now for a reason, and it's because I've got some trepidation with King of the Ring, especially now with the women's division wanting to do the Queen of the Ring. The only way I would enjoy a King of the Ring tournament pay-per-view is if it was done the same way when Stone Cold won, and when that sort of timing, when they did the entire tournament, like not pre-qualifying matches, all that crap, weeks and weeks and weeks out. Everything was done on one night. So
Yeah.
everyone who started off, like I guess they choose 16 or wherever it was, and they whittle it down right to the winner. That's the only way they'll get me interested in a King of the Ring tournament, 100%. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd still be invested, just not as much. So that's why I'm sort of a little trepidation with that one.
Yeah, and they're agreeing with you, saying that it's got to be that
Yeah,
old school
and-
one night format.
And you can't do that with men and women unless you do a 2-night tournament, which they're not going to do a 2-night thing to compete with WrestleMania. So
No,
it's kind of wishful thinking on my part. So they're always going to do the 16 and the 8 bracket prior, and they'll throw a couple of matches in there for shits and giggles, like a heavyweight title match or IC or tag team or something.
yeah. Now, one thing that I will preface this with is I could see them still doing King of the Ring and doing it how they say. And we're saying that, the women want to do it their way as well. We only got one iteration of Evolution. Why not give the ladies their own platform and run it that night to be, quote unquote, the Queen of the Ring? Because that's built around that. That's where they did the Mae Young Classic. They crowned them there as well. You could have all your women fight and give them their one night to shine. I think that would be something really cool. So I'm not against bringing King of the Ring back, but in turn, we'd have to get Evolution back.
Are you saying something like that couldn't be done like both King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring on one night?
This is not
Yeah,
possible.
'cause that'd be
Not to
32
do-
matches.
Not to do the way they used to, where it was the entire thing was on one night. Like they would start off with 16 guys. That's 8 matches, 4 matches, 2 matches, 1. Right?
Too much, eh?
They,
Too
they
long.
can't do both of those with male and female. It's too
Yeah.
much. They'd have
Yeah,
to start
that's
at the 8 competitors with the 4 matches or even the 2 matches, right? Like it would just be like the semifinals and the finals, like or quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. I don't know. It's too much. Like they had when you look at the grand scheme of things, WrestleMania was a 4-hour night, and they had 6 matches on both nights. 7 on one night, not including the interim Miz matches, but there's 6 and 7. So it's to get 4 matches would be semifinals. Sorry,
And
quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. That's 3 matches right there. So you get those 3, then in the women's 3, there's your night.
Yeah. But again, I was going to get to that. We bring back King of the Ring, we get Evolution back, and goodbye Saudi Arabia.
Which isn't going to happen.
I know, but
As much as I'd like to see it happen too, just because of the,
this is my wishful thinking.
Yeah, I'm not by any means, discriminatory to any race. However,
Sure.
I do
Neither
have
am I.
issues with the way they treat women.
That's terrible.
And when they, when we're pondering for the money, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
The girls show up to wrestle. They have to be fully clothed. Not that I don't watch women's wrestling to see them half naked, frankly, and I don't think any of them do appear half naked. Some of them do wear full pants, like Bianca Belair, for instance, and Raquel. But the fact that they have to, because it's fucking 2023 and Saudi Arabia is still back in the 1600s, it's a problem.
Yeah,
Right,
and like
I'm the only male in my house. Even my fucking dog is female, and she gets straight better than I do. Like, it's like, come on.
But again, we're not here to bash anybody who's particularly from that area. It's a civilization thing.
Yep.
It's just different than how we do it over here on the western side.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm with you. I would bring back the Great American Bash. I would go ahead and bring back Halloween Havoc. I would definitely go back and bring back December to Dismember. But I would also like to see Day 1 revived.
That
We
would be kind
only
of cool.
got it once.
Yeah,
But I did like it as kind of a Happy New Year. Here's a pay-per-view for you.
Yeah.
I would like to see it booked a little bit better. I think you could streamline storytelling from December to Dismember to Day 1 to the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Because there's really nothing between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble. And if we're treating that as the Big Four, I think having a couple stops along the way, I think would help continue building that storyline up.
I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just the Day 1 was early 2021.
It was New Year's Day 2021.
Okay, so I think Triple H, when he took over at the end of 2021 ish or something, like when he started getting more power, they basically said, we're trying to give the wrestlers some reprieve, some rest at Christmas time during the holidays. So that's why they didn't do a December pay-per-view. And December pay-per-view means also January 1st, because that's still technically
the holiday season.
So
right.
I honestly don't think that we're going to see it at Day 1. That being said, a December pay-per-view 3 weeks before Christmas, like the second week of December, is still fully feasible, right?
Yeah.
But it has to be far enough away from Survivor Series. Survivor Series, I believe, is the last. Is it the? It falls on the Sunday after
the last Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I'm gonna throw it out there because screw your logic. Give me Taboo Tuesday.
Oh,
I liked it. And I liked the fact that you actually had fan interaction to determine some of the matches. I thought that was kind of
cool.
How true that was,
I don't know, but yeah.
It was gimmicky. It was hoity-toity, but, that one brought me in. So
yeah,
that could be asking a little too much. And the last thing that we had on the docket before we could just kind of loose cannon this was really kind of the big question that we've been pondering ever since the end of night 2. We all, or at least those of us that did the predictions.
Touching, before you jump into that, do you want to talk about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal?
I mean, the fact that it should be on WrestleMania Saturday or Sunday instead of the SmackDown before, just so it could be included on WrestleMania weekend. Beyond that, I mean, if you guys want to talk about it, sure, but
I think you know what they do a pre-show. It'd be nice to have that on the pre-show even. I firmly believe that they gave this win to Lashley this year because he was sort of screwed out of his WrestleMania match with Bray because of Bray's, I don't know what it is. It's definitely not an injury, but it was really unfortunate. But yeah, that Battle Royal went from being on WrestleMania for the guys that weren't involved in a main storyline to being pushed to SmackDown, which kind of sucks. So pre-show would be
throw it on the pre-show. Men's on the second night, women's on the first. Why not?
Yeah.
Give everybody the WrestleMania payday because Lord knows you can afford it now.
Exactly. Yeah. They what 150, 160,000 people buying tickets
over the two nights. Yeah.
2 nights. Yeah, they can afford it.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, sorry. Thanks for the segue, but go ahead with the next one.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, end of night 2, obviously we all saw how it went down. We were all expecting storyline lined up, everything lined up, and WWE went the route of let's keep it on Roman. And I forget who brought it up originally, but the question was brought up as to, in today's modern booking, what wrestler from any time would be considered to be actually booked over Roman Reigns at that stage?
When I think of that, there are 5 people that come to mind.
Okay.
Number one, and this has been I've seen people saying this would be a popular one. John Cena in his prime.
The 07, 08, 09 Cena, yeah.
Then, or the boy, and then I could see 1998, 1999 Stone Cold Steve Austin.
100%.
Okay.
I could see just any Undertaker before 2011. I think
Okay.
it'd take like the Undertaker before he became solely a streak option. Like when it got to the point where he only appeared at Mania. Before that,
WrestleMania 26.
yeah, before that, I could see that Undertaker beating him.
Yep.
Realistically, even now with the way he is, I could genuinely see The Rock beating him. And in his prime, just because he was booked as arguably the strongest man in WWE in his era, I firmly believe that prime Hulk Hogan could take down Roman Reigns.
Okay.
1984 to 86, 87 Hulk Hogan in his prime.
Yeah, especially with Vince back in power, I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put that past him. But I think, James, I think you hit a lot of them on the head. I think that the time where when everybody was getting tired of Cena, but he was still putting on great matches almost every pay-per-view, I think would have definitely gone over Stone Cold during that whole Attitude Era. I think you could have put Austin over. The Rock, again, I would have to say it'd probably have to be Attitude Era Rock compared to modern day.
Yeah, agreed.
Undertaker, I would say anywhere between WrestleMania 23 to 28 Taker. I think any of those variations of him, I think you could have done it. And then, like we've all been kind of saying, I mean, it'd be weird not seeing Vince put over Hulk Hogan one time on Roman. But, I mean, if I had to pick one out of those 5, I would see him probably pushing Super Cena out of those 5 that you listed, James. But that's just my personal opinion. I think that Vince would just push Cena simply because of the merchandising, the appeal to the kids. He's fluxed with the times perfectly. Like, his character, as goofy as it may be, he has felt perfectly through the last decade and a half, almost 2 decades. Yes, dear.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Dwayne's already been brought up. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Okay.
My significant other who does not follow wrestling at all knows Dwayne, so we're good.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, before he got all the crazy tattoos, when he still wore the sunglasses, was still a good wrestler. Now he's too frou-frou. So before he got all the crazy tattoos and went super muscular, that was
Oh, kudos!
You heard it here first.
Kudos for using frou-frou. Love it.
Frou-frou-ness. So I don't know, but Craig, who would you take?
Well, I'm gonna choose a few different ones than you guys did, but there's a few matching. So first one I'm gonna go with 1984, Big John Studd.
Yeah, Big John Studd.
Here's a guy that was booked as unslammable. He was put up against Andre the Giant, who would have been another one of my choices, but unfortunately, towards the end of his tenure, just wasn't a great mover. So that's why I didn't put him on my list. But
Okay.
Studd could still move, even when he came back for his return. I don't know if you guys remember the story, but Studd was managed by the Heenan family, by Heenan.
Mm-hmm.
Andre turned bad. Studd went away for a bit. He came back, pissed off that Heenan was still managing Andre, who was his nemesis, so he turned good. Studd's last little soiree with the WWF was as a good guy. It didn't last long. It was a couple years or 1 year at most. So my next choice, 1985. So that was 84. 1985, King Kong Bundy. Here's a guy that storyline wise broke Hogan's ribs. WrestleMania 2 was probably one of the best cage matches you've ever seen. It was fantastic. I would put one. I'm going to add this right now just because I'm thinking about it. Don the Rock Morocco.
On the Rock, yeah.
This guy, I mean, before he was the first one to have the Rock, but back when he was just Don Morocco, that guy was a muscle man freak.
What he do?
It was amazing, right? Prior to any of those guys, I would say a 1982 superstar Billy Graham.
Okay. Yeah, you're going old school on me.
And I'm not talking the superstar that came back in the mid to late 80s as Morocco, just before he came back, did a few matches, then became Morocco's manager when Morocco seemingly unzipped from all the steroids and turned into Big Papa Pump. Not technically, but anyway.
Yeah.
So the next person after Morocco, obviously 93 Hulk Hogan. He was at the top of his game, slammed Andre. I mean, he was pretty much unbeatable at the time. Skipped about 4 years, went to 1997, Goldberg. As I mentioned earlier on the call, Tony, before you joined, 1997, 1998, Goldberg, they could not book this guy wrong. WCW did it right. Until Vince Russo got there. But they did it right. They used him, comes in, 2-3 minute match, huffs, puffs, blows some smoke, and walks to the back. That's the way you use Goldberg. You don't put him in 15-minute matches with, whomever. 1999, I'm going to say both at the same time because, frankly, it was the two guys that made that year, The Rock and Stone Cold. Probably my favorite time of wrestling of all time. I'm a big fan of the glory of the golden years, but The Rock and Stone Cold was, I mean, still to this day, I believe holds the record for the most merchandise sold about any wrestler, and that's considering the short length of his career in WWE, short length of his career, because he had quite a lengthy career before that. Always a mid-carder, but I think he was still one of my favorite of all time. And I think he just brought something to the table that no one else had. And The Rock and Stone Cold, the promos with Roman would be solid gold. Don Morocco, probably not. Bundy, John Studd, Hogan, Billy Graham, they'd be okay. The next one, and I know, James, you covered it. I'd go with a bit of a different angle. 2002, Big Evil Undertaker. It was a time when, the Undertaker as the traditional Undertaker, it was good. It was something we hadn't seen before. The best gimmick in wrestling, period. There's no argument. He maintained kayfabe wherever he went. What I didn't like is when he went to that whole ministry thing where he shaved off the mustache, and it just didn't do anything for me. And then he went into Dead Man Inc., I think it was, or American Badass. That wasn't bad. But when he came out as Big Evil, I'm like, okay, now you got me, right? That was pretty awesome. And then 2007 Cena. Right?
Yep.
2007 Cena. And since then, I don't know.
There's one more.
Maybe a Prime Orton? I don't know.
Well, speaking of that one just came to mind. This has been honorable mention. 2009 Randy Orton.
Yeah. Is that the Legend Killer one?
The bald one
Yeah.
that had the multiple personality situation going on.
That was the Viper, right?
That's one.
Viper.
Yeah.
One where he kissed Stephanie and made Triple H flip out.
Yeah.
The
There's
psychotic
another
one.
one. Prime Triple H.
Triple H would just bring out the shovel and say, "Screw you." It's mine."
Sledgehammer. the one where he came back from the torn quad. Right after that was awesome.
Dosie's got another idea.
As long as Charlotte Flair and the guy that eats the worms don't come back, I'll watch WWE.
Boogeyman.
Interesting time to bring that up, but yeah.
Don't bring back the boogeyman.
Don't bring back the boogeyman.
I actually, except for the worm eating part of the boogeyman, I actually liked him.
I did too.
Marty Wright. I thought he was a decent performer. For someone who had no front teeth, I think he did a good job as a boogeyman. I think he played his part well.
Yeah.
Didn't like the whole biting the big fucking growth off of that chick's face, but that was kind of nasty.
Poor Jillian.
Yeah, Jillian Hall. Oh, love it.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, I really don't think you could go wrong with any of those.
That's my list. I had 10 there, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid 10. So, but I mean, especially in today's game, I mean, I think especially with today's wrestlers, it's hard to say who would.
Yeah, I think honorable mention for me, and probably would out a lot of these guys, was Prime Bruno.
Ooh, okay.
Right? Prime Bruno. I mean, he was untouchable, right?
Yeah.
He was stiff in the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, there were guys like Pedro Morales that were really good who held the title. Frankly, I would never put Ric Flair on this list. Like a lot of people would say, what about Ultimate Warrior? Yeah, he was good, but no.
You wouldn't put Ric Flair on that list?
Not at all.
What about Savage?
That's actually who I was
Savage. Savage, I would put on this list. Actually,
I always loved watching him fight.
Sadly enough, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I can't believe I forgot him.
Always exciting.
If I had to keep this at 10, I would probably take off Morocco to put him on here.
Yeah,
Savage, 100%. I would say 1985. What was WrestleMania 3? 87.
87, yeah.
80. I would say 86. Savage.
Yeah.
85, 86 Savage.
Now, would it be too far of a stretch to put in Edge, like rated R Superstar Edge?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put him in.
Not even as an honorable mention?
No. And Chad just said Daniel Bryan. I'm a no.
Yes, movement Daniel Bryan. I
think the fans would want it. I think believable. No.
Okay.
That's
another honorable mention to me. Attitude Era Kane.
I'd have a harder time believing that one.
Yeah, I would too.
But I mean, I wouldn't be upset, but you'd have to do a little bit more convincing for me.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, I'd be half tempted to put him on that list, but I would only say that because of backstage politicking.
Yeah, and same thing for me it'd be Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
I specifically kept them off this list because even in their primes, like in Bret Hart's prime, there were guys that I truly believe would have beaten him if it wasn't for the fact that they wanted Bret to lead the charge, right? Like, I mean, his match with the match where he had Stone Cold in the sharpshooter and Stone Cold passed out covered in blood. That is hands down one of my favorite matches of all time. And I truly believe that Bret Hart, and this is coming from a Canadian, right? That Bret Hart is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Technical.
But it was technical, but he was one of the worst superstars because he couldn't perform on the mic. And when he finally did get good on the mic, he got bitter and he left. WCW had no idea how to use somebody that could actually wrestle.
WCW really dropped the ball on him. I think they could have took him a lot further than they did. I don't think they knew how to use him.
Yeah, they didn't. They
paid him great money.
Yeah,
but they dropped the ball on him.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. They paid him great money. I think Bret was going for the money, and he had to because Vince was like, "Well, I can't afford to pay you. You got to leave." The problem is, he left and he was bitter at that. And Bret's got a very bitter personality. He's always had it.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part is, ever since his stroke and everything that happened, he's very bitter towards Goldberg. He actually just had an interview a couple days ago where he's like, I can't stand the current state of wrestling. There's too much flip flopping, and guys slap their legs when they kick. Back when we were a lot better at pretending. Well, times have changed. Like, you remember when Bret would wrestle a match, how he'd get tossed into a corner, and everybody else, literally everybody else, when they got tossed to a corner, they would turn so their back hit the ropes, the turnbuckles. Bret was one of the first ones, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think he was one of the first ones. When he was tossing the ropes, he would go chest first. and fall back. So he was literally doing something that no one else had done. Well, now people are doing something that he hasn't done, and he's bitter. So he's not seeing the impact that he had of doing things like the sharpshooter that hadn't been done before. Remember the figure four leg lock he put on wrapped around the pole? Holy shit, man. Like, this is amazing.
Right now.
This is literally what guys are trying to do now. They're trying to up their games, and we've got an old school guy that's bitter, pissed off at Goldberg for giving him a concussion that caused a stroke. And all he's doing is going on TV, just flapping his gums about how bitter he is about the state of current wrestling. And frankly, as a longtime Bret Hart fan, I can't listen to him anymore on interviews. It's just he embarrassed himself as far as I'm concerned.
He does, absolutely.
It's sad.
Okay, I've got two more names before we get out of here. Both of these are from the lovely other half.
Okay,
right there. The first one, she says Becky because if Roman lays a finger on Becky, she will kick his ass and he won't actually do it. The second name, I was going to bring it up, but she brought it up too. 2004 Eddie. I'm going to go to bat for this one almost the same as Chad's going to bat for the Yes Movement with Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
Because in ring, Eddie could go. I feel like his lie, cheat, steal ways would work in today's game. The fans would get behind him. I could see it. Like, his whole persona feels like a way to get the belts off of Roman if you were to book it today. I feel like Eddie could do it. But I don't know, because I saw you guys' faces like you weren't sure. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that one?
I think it could work. Because I think because the thing is, with Roman would have the bloodline in his corner trying to run interference. Eddie was just so good at what he did with the lying, the cheating, and the stealing that I think Eddie alone would be able to counterbalance the entire bloodline just because they'd be trying to distract the ref. And the same things they're trying to do by helping Roman win, Eddie would be doing as soon as the ref got distracted. So,
yeah, I'd say, and this isn't the takeaway anything that Chad says, because I think he's had some very good points all night. So I appreciate that, Chad, for all the comments you've been putting in. I would give the nudge to Eddie before I give it to Daniel Bryan. And the only reason why is because if you ever watch an Eddie match, like the typical switch and bait, like grabbing a chair, hitting the ground with it, tossing it to the opponent, then passing out fake, and then when the referee turns around, he thinks that the guy got hit with the chair. That could literally be the catalyst that makes him win the match. But since we're adding more, 2001 Brock Lesnar and 2002 Kurt Angle.
Oh,
Brock Lesnar in 2001 was untouchable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, how to build a new star. How to build the new star. 01 Brock would do it. 02 Angle. Oh, God.
And
yeah.
I would venture to say Angle, when he left WWE and went to Impact, he was a beast. If you guys were following
05 Angle?
What's that?
Or 06?
06 Angle, yeah.
06, yeah.
When he was in TNA, I mean, he had the matches he had with AJ Styles, they were bangers, man.
Samoa Joe, yeah.
Samoa Joe, yeah. Those were some decent matches.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of names. It's just modern day.
Yeah, modern day, I think we're having a hard time because there's a lot of guys that just aren't there yet.
I mean, we know one guy that's there. He just needs the storyline built.
Seth Rollins.
And perfect question. Other than Cody, who's the guy? We've already seen Seth. I mean,
the storyline's there for Cody. The storyline's there for Brock. The problem is Brock can't do it because of the clause in the contract. Unless there's something that they can do, like if I beat Cody, I get that contract back or something. But I don't think Heyman will agree to it. But I mean the how would you say this? The
roster is
the ringer.
the ring general.
Sola Sokola. Walter, Gunther, he is definitely a possibility.
I was thinking him, or maybe, and I know that this is going to be way too far gone, but to wrap the story all together in a bow, let it be Bray Wyatt, since he's the one that Roman originally won it off of.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
Hey,
I don't want to see it.
It's me wanting the Fiend back. It's me wanting to see Bray back, because that's still too good of a creative mind to let go.
Yeah, I'd like to see Bray back. I don't want to see the Fiend back. They created a character in the Fiend that was literally unbeatable, and then they had him get beat.
Well, yeah, by Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. Are we really counting that? No.
Shitty match, right? Like, this is the point I'm trying to make. Like, they created this unbeatable character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the boss of all bosses in Double Dragon, and then you had little dude beat him, right? Like, it just wasn't cool. Right?
Yeah, no. But that's just my way of thinking of tying the entire story together.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
It was the one to
the best person on the roster right now that could beat Roman is Gunther. The problem is they're both heels, and I don't think Gunther's turning face anytime soon.
Unless you do it in London, Money in the Bank,
or that. Yep.
You go anywhere in the UK, Gunther immediately has the crowd.
100%.
Just like we saw a Clash at the Castle in Wales.
And frankly, I've always been a fan, and this is why I love the Attitude Era so much. And I'm not by any means saying it's the best era, but it was very good.
Yes.
When you watch it at the time, if you look back at it, I'm sure there's things you don't agree with, the broad panty matches and all that stuff. But I like that they did heel versus heel and face versus face. They haven't done a hell of a lot of that since.
Yeah, I definitely see that could be something. But yeah, I mean, give me Roman versus Gunther at Money in the Bank. Sign me up.
Yep, 100%.
Let Roman get beat the crap out of.
Yeah.
And then, boom, whoever wins Money in the Bank, cough, cough, Jey Uso or Cody Rhodes, cough, cough.
Yeah.
And then pull another heist. But, I mean, I really think that may be it for right now until we see some more storyline build. But it's been a fun couple hours, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
It really has. I'm trying to get you guys off the air because I know two of you guys are very much staring at Saturday morning here. Actually, no, I think three of you, because James, isn't it 11:56 where you are too? Or
no,
he's 10.
He's Central Time.
I was going to say Central Time has that weird cutoff in the panhandle. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's he's Central. He's Central.
Yeah.
Tony and I are 4 minutes, three minutes away from midnight.
Yeah,
so not a big deal. But yeah, I appreciate you jumping in, Tony. It was really good catching up.
Thanks for the invite. Absolutely, love talking wrestling.
Yeah, funny enough, you're welcome all the time, guys. I've actually never met Tony in person. We belong to the similar community group, local community group, which I'm no longer part of. But
you left.
I for personal reasons, I decided to step away. I won't get into why. Maybe if you ask us another time, I'll let you know. But I just decided that it wasn't for me. Did a lot of the heavy lifting for a couple years and not a lot of appreciation. So anyway, we do share a love of wrestling, which I appreciate. Anything you want to get together for coffee, I'm more than happy.
Absolutely, I'm available all the time.
Hortons for me.
Funny enough, there's a lot of Canadians that don't like Tim Hortons anyway. But
really,
yeah, you know what? They over the years the quality has gone down. So we've McDonald's has better coffee.
Wow!
Donut wise, their donuts are terrible. So we all kind of look for donuts elsewhere. I haven't stepped foot into Tim Hortons in 3-4 years.
I was going to say the one time I went, I had a great experience with it, but it could just be that one day.
But you were in the U.S. in Buffalo, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so Buffalo Tim Hortons is a little bit different. They actually a little bit better. They're still not great. I mean, donut-wise, Dunkin' will always have better donuts than Tim Hortons.
Sure.
Where Tim Hortons, I know we're not talking wrestling right now, but where Tim Hortons makes their most money is actually on their sandwiches and bagels. When they put together a cream cheese bagel or a sandwich or their soups, that's where they make their most money. That's why their donuts over the years went from being a nice donut to small. Yeah. And their coffee.
I just want to gauge something. So, how long when did you guys start watching wrestling as kids? I'm assuming as children, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
I think out of all of us, I'm
So let's start with Ian. Ian, when
Okay,
did you start watching wrestling?
Dr. Thugonomics Cena is the one that got me into WWE wrestling.
so we're talking 2002.
2002, 2003. My older brother Josh, he was living with my mom and dad at the time. He was watching it. We were watching TNA together, and then the first time I ever saw Raw was the night that Cena got drafted over. So the first segment I ever saw of WWE programming was the Jericho highlight reel where Cena was introduced as the first overall pick of the draft.
Craig?
I'll let James go first.
The first match I ever remember watching, it was the first time I ever saw it was that I actually have memory of was the whole Rikishi ran over the Rock thing. I mean, ran over Stone Cold thing.
Did it for The Rock.
And what got me into wrestling though is the first time I saw The Undertaker and Paul Bearer together.
Okay. All right, Craig, I guess you're up.
So I go back a lot further than you guys.
course.
As I mentioned, I'm a little bit older, but I got involved in wrestling, I want to say the early 80s. So there was a show called All Star Wrestling. I used to watch that Saturday afternoon. There was, I can't remember the name of the show. I mean, there was World Championship Wrestling. There was All American Wrestling, Championship Wrestling.
Was Stampede Wrestling a thing
Maple
up
Leaf.
there yet?
Maple Leaf Wrestling. Stampede was south. Was West Coast. Sorry, prairies. So it's still, I mean, it'd be like going from Colorado to almost New York, right?
Oh wow. Okay.
That's how far away Calgary is from where Tony and I are.
Okay.
So it's a significant distance.
Yeah, that actually helps me with.
Yeah, so I'm 4 hours away, or 3.5 hours away from Detroit.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just to give you a perspective.
Yep.
Well, where you were in the summer at Niagara Falls is a 45-minute drive for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm
in that
literally
case,
right
that
around the
helped.
corner. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah, just close to Buffalo. Saturday night main event, the primetime wrestling. So I remember, I think it was 1986 or 87, might have been 86, going to we got somebody that commented 1981. That would have been Chad Stewart, 1981 NWA. So I would say late 70s for me, but my first in-person event, I believe, was 86. It may have been 85. I can't remember. I think it was 86. It was Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff, or Hulk Hogan and somebody. Yeah, I think it was Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff versus Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton. The Dream Team, which was Valentine and Beefcake, versus the Bulldogs. It was all at the CNE Grandstand in Toronto. The Machines versus Bundy and Stud. Machines, obviously, the Giant Machine was Andre the Giant. Axe from Demolition, prior to them being Demolition, was one of the Machines as well. And then I can't remember the next show I went to, but that was my first show. It was an outdoor show at the CNE Grandstand. So it's been a long time. I can't say I want to say in my earlier days, up until about, I want to say 10 years ago, I was literally watching every single show. I never missed a Raw, never missed a Nitro or a Thunder or a SmackDown. But last 10 years, it's just, with family. I have 2 teenage daughters, so priorities take over.
So for me, I go back, I remember 1977, 78, watching with my grandmother. And, old Italian lady, it was funny because she would cheer for whoever was getting beat up. She'd switch back and forth, right? So the one guy was getting beat up, she'd feel bad for him. And she'd curse the guy doing the beating and back and forth. So I used to always kind of watch her as a child. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, right? But my first matches was Maple Leaf Wrestling.
Yeah.
Going down with my buddies, whether it's by, bus and train. And buying tickets down there and going seeing guys like like Big John Stott and Tiger Jit Singh and guys like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Seeing the Bobby Heenan down there and all those guys back there. So I've been watching wrestling probably since 1981, 82, truthfully, because even when I was back in the late 70s, I didn't really understand it. Watch it with my grandmother and stuff like that, and I didn't have the full interest that I do even now, right?
And the problem,
1981, 82. So that's really when I started really getting into it. Pre the big Hogan, the big Hogan 1984 WrestleMania 1 and all that, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way, and the problem is, I didn't have any friends that liked wrestling or that I thought liked wrestling.
Yeah,
I kind of kept it to myself. So when I went to my first event, I'd literally begged my dad, who hated wrestling, and he's a big Western fan, like John Wayne movies, sort of Western movies.
Yeah.
So he would, every time wrestling would come on, he's like, "Oh, turn this off. Let's put something else on," type thing, right? So I was like, praying that we were a one TV family, so I was like hoping my dad would fall asleep so I could switch the channel or something. But so when he said that it was my birthday, and he said, "I want to take you to a wrestling event," and I already knew like this big event was happening in August at the grandstand. I said, "Well, there's this one happening. Can we go?" And he's like, "Yep, let's get tickets." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So he took me into Toronto, and we saw this. And God bless his heart, he hated what he saw, but he was there right beside me.
Unfortunately, my father wasn't the same. He was old school Italian and saved every penny, and I had to come up with my own money to go down and see those matches. But back then they were pretty cheap, and my older brother would shoot me some money to go get tickets and stuff, and I go down with my dad and or my friends, and they were a lot of fun back then, right?
Yeah, and I can't remember when I actually started watching the pay-per-views from like not renting them on VHS from Jumbo Video. Which is like, it was kind of like our Blockbuster Video, James. But we had Blockbuster as well, but several years later. But we had a video store up here called Jumbo Video that was across Canada, and the reason Jumbo as in Jumbo Dumbo. There was a elephant as a logo. WrestleMania would happen. A month or two later, I'd go into Jumbo Video, rent it, and then take it home and watch it. And we were a family that actually had two VCRs, so I'd tape it and get it for myself. So I had a pretty big library built up and of wrestling. And I can't remember when we started doing that and when we switched to actually going with friends to bars to see. We knew certain bars that would play the main events on pirated satellite dishes. They technically aren't allowed to show it unless they paid for it for a commercial license. But at the time, it was WrestleMania and Survivor Series, maybe. And I think SummerSlam came next, and then Royal Rumble, or vice versa. I can't remember, but for the longest time it was a 4, and then I would probably say 99, 2000 is when I started getting, I don't want to say pirated, but like with a Dish Network, and I started receiving the stuff at home.
Yeah,
maybe it was 2000, and then Android box now, and WWE Network. It's
amazing. I love it.
Yeah, but
the Android box is the best.
Yep. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Shout out to our buddy Adam, who's hooked us both up apparently with
that's
decent Android box. Anyone watching that needs one, let me know and I'll hook you up with. But it's it's a fun time to be a wrestling fan. I know we talked 99.99% about WWE tonight, but lots going on. A lot of us are fans of more than just WWE. Maybe we'll hit a discussion on another organization if everyone's up for it next time around.
SmackDown or Raw? Which one do you favor?
Depends on what year you're talking about.
Now.
Now, Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you asked me that question 3 months ago, it would be SmackDown.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. I find it flip flops for me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like Raw because it's 3 hours. I actually like the fact that it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
I come from a very traditional background when it comes to wrestling. I prefer the in-ring wrestling as opposed to the long-ass promos and the comedic crap. Like I'm not a big fan of Otis. Frankly, that sort of gimmick just doesn't do anything for me. Or the Maxime model males, or whatever it's called. It just doesn't do anything for me. I'm also not a fan of people who, are in the business because of their last name and can't wrestle or shit. Cough, cough, Dominic, who should have been sent down to NXT to hone his skills before being brought
first. Yeah,
I mean, that's where the Rock daughter is. Rain is down there, right?
Yeah.
So she's not great, but at least she's paying her dues where she should. So
yeah. Yeah, the Dominic Mysterio thing. I'd follow it, but I don't. I just don't like that whole Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio feud thing. I don't know.
yeah,
It seems a little silly in a way. And I think it's gone on too long already. I think they should kind of try to squash it. I don't really like the storyline.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the whole storyline either. But
yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
The best thing they did was involve with the other guys in the LWO. I think at least it'll provide a bit of balance. I don't know.
I certainly don't think he should be fighting the people he's fighting. Number one, I think he's missed.
Dominic, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's mismatched a lot of the time.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve to be where he is. Like he's winning matches against people who are far better wrestlers than he is, but he's winning because of qualification, or interference, and oh, it's a heel stable, right? So you got to expect it. And I'm not by any means saying that. I mean, do I like his gimmick? Not a fan of his gimmick, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
What I don't like is him. Right? He's just not a talented wrestler, and he sucks on the mic. Some of his promos have been better, but I just don't think he didn't have enough. I don't want to say training, but coaching, training, whatever you want to do it. He needed Dusty Rhodes. That's the way I can put it.
Yeah,
he needed Dusty Rhodes in NXT, and he didn't get it. So.
Well, when's the next episode?
I don't know. We usually try to coordinate with the most of us on. We actually have two other guys that are usually on with us. Well, not usually because we only done this once before, but two other admins, one of which was at SmackDown tonight. He was on his way home. I'm surprised he didn't join us, but probably got caught in traffic or something. But he was sending us pictures and stuff, and he had some pretty decent shows. He was on the hard camera side between the ring and the stage, but a little higher up. It looked like the nosebleeds. He actually lives in Nebraska, in Lincoln, Nebraska. So he was quite excited to see the show. So he just got back. He just texted the chat. We're about to bail. So anyway, all right, Tony, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll do this again soon. Love to talk. Glad you guys are doing it.
Yeah. And please, if you see us again, we'll probably announce the next one on the page. If you're able to, please hop in.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
If you're listening still, Chad and James, you guys are listening, and whoever else was commenting, please feel free to click the link and top in as well. We'd love to chat. All right, guys.
Excellent.
Ian, I don't know if you're still there. If you're on mute, I know you're still running this, so you're still around. But if you want to hop back in to close her out. I don't know where he is. Wow, I just realized we were going on for 2.5 hours. That's pretty impressive. The night we did, I think we did 4 hours, right, for WrestleMania? the night before WrestleMania after the SmackDown?
No, it was only about 2.5.
2.5 around the same time, so that's pretty good. We covered a lot of topics though tonight. That last chat was literally just about our predictions for WrestleMania for night 1 and night 2. So it was pretty neat.
All right, boys. It's good chatting.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we'll do this again.
Definitely.
Good meeting you other two guys. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Have a good night, Craig.
You too.
Ciao.
That was awesome. And we'll have Tony jump in. And like I said, I'm hoping that the next time we do this, we'll have a couple more people that are able to click the link and hop in and give us their take on some of the questions we're asking. I'm super happy that this time around we actually had an audience of people commenting. We were able to address the comments as they were happening. We all, regardless of who our favorite wrestler is or what our favorite or least favorite storyline is or which, organization we like watching more than the other, our love-hate relationship with Vince and the WWE, we all have our own opinions, and it was great seeing those opinions discussed and respectfully. At the end of the day, they are just that, opinions. What I like, James, you might not. And James, I know you and I have had lots of discussions on certain people, including Bailey. You love her, I hate her. I shouldn't say hate her. I don't hate anybody. I'm not a fan of her, but she is your bae. I'm just not a fan, right? And just at the end of the day, we can respectfully have a conversation and still get along.
Exactly.
And that's 10 years of shooting the shit just like this, but via text where you can't gauge tone. So that's
right.
So awesome. I think we've lost Ian.
I think we have, yeah.
Passed out. I guess it's midnight here, 12:15 here. I guess it's what is it, 10:15 where he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Must have hit his bedtime.
I'm actually about to hit my bedtime. I got to work tomorrow.
All right. Well, have a good day. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll talk soon. Take care.